Being more productive is something that we all strive for. We all try to kind of get the most out of the shortest period of time as possible. And, I'm a firm believer that it's one of them situations where, like, if you want something done quickly, give it to a lazy person. Me personally, I've struggled with productivity a lot over the years. And I've done lots of research, read plenty of books, watched plenty of videos on ways to kind of improve my productivity so that I can get as much done as possible within, I guess, like the shortest amount of time. Now, for most people, it can be difficult, especially for someone like myself, where my mind's constantly racing. I'm always looking for different things to do. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've sat down to focus to do one thing, and then all of a sudden something pops into my head and I end up like thinking of doing that. And sometimes, admittedly, I do it, which isn't very good for, being productive and doing the things that need to be done. But what I've learned is to kind of get that thought, hold it, prevent it, like stop going through with it and actually focus on what I'm trying to do, because very often I'd get myself into periods of time where I'd be getting loads of things like half started, not really finishing anything. And it does take a lot of willpower, a lot of discipline. It's definitely easier said than done. But here are some tips and things that I've kind of implemented over the years that I've found extremely useful. They do take a bit of work. It's not like one of them things where you just all of a sudden bang do it and way productive. But what they are things that are extremely useful, and if implemented correctly and actually worked on, they can be very, very useful. And I find myself now getting so much more done than what I used to, rather than having to kind of work over 5-6 hours. I can actually get a lot done in quarter to half of that time, which is obviously very, very helpful. Now, boosting productivity is often down to habits. It's plain and simple, having some sort of system structure is obviously very helpful, but for me, finding a system was very difficult, creating something that I feel that I could actually stick to. So I thought I'd run through some things that I do personally and give you this advice, and hopefully some of them may work. You might have to listen to a few other videos before you actually implement them like I did. First one, which I found very, very useful, is time blocking. So I've started to schedule a lot of my week now, even things that are happening every week. Just for example, going to work, school runs, things like that. I implement them, I put them into my week each week, and this allows me to actually have a good view of what's possible. Also within this is like social events, so I'm a parent, so there's things that go on with kids, family, stuff like that. Always put that in first, and then I look at time slots. And what this does is this actually means that it creates a bit of urgency. And what I've found is having that urgency, knowing that I need to leave at a certain time, makes me actually implement all of the other factors so that I can get it done. Because for me, the way that I think, the way that my brain works, if I was to not finish what I need to do, which I've done in the past and I've gone out, I'm not present. I'm constantly thinking to myself, I should have done that. So by doing this, and obviously the other things that I'm putting in place as well, has allowed me to actually get the work done, and then after that, feeling a lot more comfortable and actually being present in the moment. So how I do this is I use my calendar. I dedicate certain periods where I know that I'm going to have a decent amount of time to get a task done. It's all about setting realistic ones as well. Like, don't think you're going to get loads done in 20 minutes. I make sure that with the tasks I've got to do, I've got a time period that's very realistic for me to achieve it in, as long as I don't sit there twiddling my thumbs, watching stuff on YouTube and trying to do everything apart from what I need to do. Now, it's really important to stick to these time blocks as much as possible, because this becomes a habit as well. And like any habit, it can be difficult to implement. So it's really important to kind of get used to that, try and structure it. Like I say, there's been plenty of times where I haven't quite achieved what I needed to do, but I've learned from that. And the main thing was just staying consistent and implementing this and sticking to those time blocks. The second one is prioritizing tasks in the order of importance. Now, I use a technique called the Eisenhower matrix. Now, this is one of them things where I've watched loads of videos on this and I see loads of people doing it. And it really did take a long time for it to kind of sink in and for me to think, do you know what, I'm going to give this a go. Honestly, it was probably one of the best things I've done. And the reason for this is it just actually gives me a good idea of what I need to do and what takes priority. Because usually how I would do it was I'd have like paper and pen and I'd write my tasks down and I'd try to put them in order of importance. Now what I do is I write my tasks down and then I put them into this like 4 quadrants, and you put them in order of urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and neither urgent nor important. So as you can see, like once you've put them into the positions, you know what you need to do. Very often, like I will kind of do this and then I do have to put it away, because I do tend to drift and look at other sections and think, oh, I could quickly get that done. But it's really important to understand, like, follow this process and actually stick to it. Don't start picking up other things. Focus on the tasks that are urgent and important and then work your way through them. Now, Often I don't get them all done, but the main thing is that I clear those ones out that need to be done. For me, like, I'm a coach as well as have a full-time job, but within my coaching, the stuff that I do for my clients is classed as urgent and important, because usually the way I am, I leave it till last minute. So it will be one of those factors where I'll have like 3 or 4 client plans that need to be done, so I will make sure that they're done, and then I'll go through the list from there. They are, for me, urgent and important because they both need to be done soon, and they are important because they're for my clients, and obviously they pay me to be their coach, so I've got to do my job. The third one is single tasking. Can't tell you the amount of times that I've tried to multitask, and for me it's something my brain just tends to just go towards multitasking. And although, you know, I have found success with it in the past, ultimately over the grand scheme of things it hasn't been very beneficial. Focusing just on a single task has massively helped, and one of the things I do is, because of the way, like, whenever I'm doing something, I do tend to have like little things like pop into my head. I actually have like I've got here a pad and paper. Rather than sitting on it and thinking to myself like, oh, I'm going to do this next or anything, I'll just literally jot it down. I'll write it down, it's out of my head then. That has massively helped. So if you're someone who's similar, like when you're getting stuck into a task, you struggle, I highly recommend having a pad and a pen or something along those lines where you can just quickly jot it down. That way it's out of your head and you stop focusing on it. Because for me, it's one of them where I'll be like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then it comes back around. If I write it down, I know it's down, it's out of the way. And then after I finish that task, I can look at it then and see where it falls within my quadrants and see whether it's worth following through with. This also allows you to make significant progress towards whatever you're trying to do. So for me, like, whenever it comes to writing down things or creating things for clients, I get really focused. I really enjoy it. And then it gets almost near to the end of it, and I start to taper off. And this is usually where I tend to sort of drift and do other things. But doing this, following through with this, keeping conscious of focusing on just doing one single task has massively helped me. And now I get the job done, I get the things done that I need to do, and this makes me feel a lot more productive and allows me to actually move forward within my business and also myself, because I feel like I'm actually capable of achieving things, whereas in the past I used to really struggle due to constantly trying to multitask and focusing on different things and not actually finishing anything. Number 4, goal setting. Now, I know when it comes to being productive, sometimes goal setting doesn't always fall into the same category, but for me it's really important to have like an actual set goal of what I'm trying to achieve, because once again I tend to find myself drifting between different goals, and that really impacts my productivity. So for example, say I am looking to create some sort of improvement on my website to allow, you know, like maybe like a little members area or something like that for my clients, so that they can learn and achieve a little bit more understanding about what we're doing. Rather than thinking to myself, oh, that's just a goal, I'll put that down, or just like doing a little bit of it, which I've done, I actually have now structured in a focus time where by the start of 2024, I know that's going to be done, because I've set that goal now. That's probably one of my biggest goals outside of everything else that I'm doing. So this falls into that quadrant of important but not urgent. And what I've done then is I've also spent the time actually reverse engineering the goal that I'm trying to achieve, which is creating this little members area for my clients so that they can learn more about nutrition, training and cardio and have it all there in one place. Beforehand, I would just do a little bit of it, get a little bit forward and I think, oh no, I can't be bothered anymore. But now what I've done is I've used all of these principles that I've just gone over, and I'm going to be, and I implement them. You know, I focus on making sure that where it stands within my goals, if I get my urgent and important stuff done, then I start working on that. And that's why having a goal and setting it can be really important, because it gives you an actual idea of what direction you're going in and takes away the sort of mind all over the place vibes that I get when it comes to goal setting, because without writing it down or having a specific goal, I do tend to drift into different goals. Anyone who knows me will completely understand that. Another thing is taking regular breaks and basically just looking after yourself. You know, I've gone through periods where I have worked extremely hard and focused just on work, and it has led to me burning out several times. And I'll be honest with you, they get worse every time you do them. So a few things that I've really worked on is taking breaks and, you know, having a good idea of when I'm going to take a break, how much work I can actually do within a given period of time, and not just dying through these like 3-4 hour stints where I'm just like focused and just bang doing loads of work, and then I just drop, my energy levels just drop. Now I look to create a bit more consistency within my focus and my energy levels, and also alongside this, obviously eating well, keeping well hydrated, training consistently, just taking care of my general physical and mental health have massively helped me. Personally, I use an app called Forest, which I'll show you. This app's quite useful. It just literally allows me to set a time period, and you get like a little tree that grows and stuff. And it's just, I don't know, the amount of times that I've kind of gone to stop working or get distracted or whatever, this has been really helpful to allow me to really focus through periods of time. And what I recommend doing with this is not setting the periods too long, depending on the sort of task you're doing. It's very, very normal for you to like not have an hour to focus. You know, for me, I tend to do like 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes, but I'll be honest, in the beginning I started with like 20 minutes, because what I found was that when I was doing 20 minutes, I was like purely focused in them 20 minutes, and the urgency led me to do more within those periods. When I tried to do like an hour, it just wasn't working well for me. So anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes, totally depending on what I'm doing. If I'm doing client work, then yeah, it would be like 30 minutes. If I'm doing something that's really creative and that I enjoy doing, in the sense of, not to say that I don't enjoy doing client stuff, but that's new and stimulating, I know that it's going to need 45 minutes, because there's probably going to be things that I come across that I might need to change or overcome. So for me, it really has helped just kind of setting that timer. There's obviously loads of different timers that you can do, but this works really well for me because I feel like the app is created for that. The last one is removing distractions. Now this personally for me is without a doubt the biggest one, and this was one of the hardest things for me to break with regards to like habits. Looking on my phone, watching YouTube videos that I feel that are along the same sort of lines of what I'm trying to do, or I don't know, I was just always finding ways to kind of trick myself into thinking that I'm doing something productive. So what I do now is I focus on keeping my phone facing away, my iPad's off unless I need to do some specific research for certain things. Often I'll watch things like YouTube and stuff on my iPad rather than the laptop, because I find it just easier with the app and stuff rather than being on like desktop. So for me, it was always a distraction in that sense. Once I removed them and I kind of was conscious, the whole point is being conscious of these distractions. I also got myself an Oura Ring, and I don't wear my Apple Watch whilst working. Might sound really like stupid, but I suppose I could just turn the notifications off, but for me it's just, I still check. I don't know what it is. It's like my phone has to be facing down, otherwise I'll check it. And with my watch as well, even when I've turned notifications off, I still check. So what I've done now is I just literally take my watch off when I'm working. I've got my Oura Ring, which, you know, just keeps on top of my heart rate and stuff like that throughout the day. And a big part of why I got this ring over the watch was because of the distractions that it was creating. And like I say, with these distractions, it can just be thought process. It doesn't necessarily have to be a like ping or something like that. You know, like the way my brain works, I just tend to come across these things and I'm like, oh, I know, I'm going to look that up. Or so that, once again, paper and pen come in extremely handy for that, because it allows me to remove that distraction by actually taking control of the thought process and writing it down and then leaving it there. And after I finish, I assess it and go through it and see whether it's actually where it falls within my priority list. And that's why all of these habits and things that I kind of implement have actually worked, because they all kind of help each other, and they all, as a combination, they work extremely well. And like I say, it is hard work to kind of implement them, but over a period of time, I found is that I just get in the flow of things. I know how to do it. You know, like I say, I'll literally write down what my tasks are, and then I'll put them in their quadrants, and then I'll go from there. And then, you know, if things don't get done, they carry over, and it is what it is. But the main thing is that I'm doing the things that I need to do, because usually I would probably work backwards. I do all of the easy things that are not important and not urgent, just because I can tick them off and I get this little dopamine kick, whereas ultimately I need to be doing the things that actually are going to help move things forward. That's one of the things that I've really worked on recently, and it's been extremely beneficial. Using these things and implementing them have really helped a lot. So hopefully this can kind of help someone else out there who's, I guess, in a similar mindset to me. Like I say, I've watched plenty of videos that have kind of helped me with ways of, and I've tried loads of different things, but these are the things that have actually stuck with me. And you know, everyone's different, and it's really important to kind of tailor the habits to yourself, not get caught up in what everyone else is doing. But I would recommend like giving them a try, because like I say, I've managed to find a system that works for me and helps me be so much more productive than what I was in the past, and really does mean that I spend half as much time doing the work that I need to do, only needing probably 15 minutes preparation. It's massively reduced my workload, well, the time spent doing work anyway, because I'm more productive. So it's really important to consistently practice these habits and allow them to kind of build into your routine. Don't get frustrated like right off the start, because I know that it can be frustrating. Like when I first done the quadrant thing, I was a bit like, oh God, like how am I is this really worth doing? But in the long run, it has been extremely beneficial and it has helped a lot. It did take a lot of practice, and that's the same with scheduling my weeks. You know, on Sunday I sit down, I just do it on my calendar, on my iPad or my laptop. It's really not that difficult. I have things that are structured in each week because I do them consistently each week, and then I just kind of find the gaps in between. I can't remember what the book is, but there's this process that's about big stones, pebbles and sand, I think it is, and it's almost like a pot, and you put your big stones in first, which is obviously the big task for me, like work, family, commitment, stuff like that, and then I'll put like the pebbles in, which is things like work and stuff like that, and then like the sand, which could be something as simple as prepping my meals or getting my cardio in or something like that. So using that method is quite important as well, like making sure that you do structure in the big things first, and then obviously from there adding in, you know, the second tier of it, and then obviously the little things that you just splash over the top. But yeah, it's all extremely helpful, and I know there's a lot of people out there that think similarly to me, and I've helped a lot of clients in the past with their productivity as well, and it's why I find it extremely useful to kind of assess it, go over it and adjust it. And you know, maybe there'll be some new methods that I implement over a period of time, but at the moment this system's working extremely well for me. So just remember, time blocking, prioritizing, single tasking, not multitasking, goal setting, regular breaks and self-care, very, very important. And then remove distractions. If you can get these 6 things in place, you're going to absolutely fly. Hopefully this has given you a good insight to how I do it, and hopefully you can take away a little bit and it might motivate you to do a bit yourself. But any questions or anything, please drop them in the comments, and I look forward to hearing whether this has helped people or not. But yeah, stick at it. It is hard to find yourself in a place where you can be productive, but it's very much worth it. And if you put the effort in, you will find something that works for you. You just have to keep trying, and just remember, like, everyone is different. What works for one person doesn't work for everyone. But also give it a try, because I didn't think that the quadrant thing would work, but it's an absolute game changer for me. But yeah, that's all.